Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Mavidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the Divine Being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the Divine Being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beloved beings everywhere. So, good evening, everyone. Hang on just a minute, I need to prop up my feet. Doctor's orders keep my feet elevated. So, we have been studying Swami Vivekananda's series of lectures titled Gyana Yoga. We started with a definition of the problem, and we have come up to a definition of the solution to that problem. The definition of the problem was, what is Maya? How can there be this universe? How can there be this appearance? And the solution for our seeming bondage within that Maya, time, space, and causation, is realization of the divinity that is, and the divinity that we are. So tonight we're not going to go any further with the reading. We're going to have, so to speak, a pop quiz. The Swami is going to lead us now in chapters 9 and going forward to the implications he'll lead us through the implications of the solution that he established, which is realization. So I'd like you all to be bold, willing to speak out, and you must know that you will not be corrected. It's not a question of right answers. It's a question of our trying together to reach right understanding. So the first question to pose is, what did the Swami say Maya is? He said, this is very difficult. And then he went into a long series of explanations about this appearance, this Maya. What did he say Maya is?
Well, I will go, Brother Shankara. No one is speaking up. So. Can I go ahead and comment on what
Please, of course, Haima. There's no need to ask for permission.
my understanding is? Maya is, we are under Maya, which is illusion. We're in the finite world, not able to see the infinite universe, oneness in the world, And that is what Swami was explaining. We are under Maya, all the.
Okay, the term illusion is an umbrella word. Either you or someone else who would like to chime in, and you're doing fine.
Okay.
Uh, what is this illusion? What is it?
Like he said in the previous chapter, the little separate self must die. I am separate. I am different from others. That part of it has to die, and then we can see the reality. Then we are in the reality of that. The reality is God. Uh, God is in us and with us and everywhere. So first to find your God within you, within us. That's what he's telling us through meditation.
That's the solution.
Right.
So we're still talking about what is the definition of the problem. What is it?
Brother Shankara? Sorry.
Yes,
I can take a shot at it.
please.
From what I recall, um, he lays out the practical examples. The biggest thing that comes to my mind is that uh, we all know the end, that one day we are going to give up this body, but this clinging, still grasping, clinging, wanting to somehow find immortality through this uh, limited being, um, and by clinging to what is outside. I think he calls that as Maya. It's a fact.
Yes, that is a very large component of it. You're right. This clinging, as Haima pointed out, this small ego, this sense of separate self, is a component of Maya. As you just pointed out, a component of Maya is our clinging to that and our our involvement with it, our entanglement with it. There's more. And you remember correctly when he says, this is a fact. It's not precisely an illusion. It is more like a delusion than an illusion.
Brother Shankara, this is Chirag here.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'd like to just summarize it in one word, and that is it our perceptions?
Very good. Perceptions of what?
Perceptions of our sense organs on one hand, probably partly. And then our mind, how does our mind interpret what we're feeling, what we see? So perceptions and our thoughts, which I don't know if that lumps together with perceptions, but it's I like this idea of illusion because it's the way we see things, and it's very interesting because we all seem to see things slightly differently.
Emphatically so. You're right. Each of us is a unique spark. So this is good. What you just said is good. Excellent. We come to our experience of what we cling to, what forms that small ego that Haima spoke about. We come to this through the perceptions of our 5 sense organs, the organs of perception. And then, as you pointed out, from that, we learn, we memorize, quite literally, we memorize the forms and the names for the forms. And so of that, we create thoughts. Anyone else? We're doing great. So what is the effect of Maya on us when we do this? What happens? Somebody expand more on the definition of Maya by explaining what our entanglement results in, beyond what Haima said, and beyond what Swayam said about the creation of a small ego and this clinging. What is the effect?
One effect is we get caught up in the emotions of this drama we're in, life and death, suffering, good and bad. We forget our true self.
Indeed, Brahmadas. Yes, we do. And what do we do as a result of being involved that way, entangled that way?
We keep going around in circles, both in this particular life as well as keep coming back, because we are seeking freedom where there is none.
Very, very well said. We keep going around in circles, that hamster wheel.
Brother Shankara, this is Rishikesh.
Yes, Rishikesh, thank you for jumping in.
And hopefully it will be meaningful. So one other follow-up of this Maya is the fact that we think that we are in control. Whereas,
We're getting to the core now. Thank you, Rishikesh.
Yeah.
We think we're in control. And what are the effects of that?
well, obviously what I think Brahmadas ji said, all the suffering and all of that, we remain entangled and everything, the ego, everything that was mentioned, I guess we kind of remain in that. But the moment we detach ourselves, and I think that was a solution that was previously indicated through meditation or whatever, then we realize what is the real thing and what otherwise our limitations are because of the senses.
So what is it if we do learn to detach ourselves, if we do learn renunciation?
Right.
What is it we're renouncing? What is it that we are releasing, letting go? Because this is, we're getting now to the real core of the matter, that we do just what you said. So what are the implications? You said we think we're in control. What are the implications?
I think-
So, no, I'm just going to say that the implication is that we think that we are defining the destiny, but the destiny, I may be wrong here. The destiny is defined for us. I don't know, maybe.
Well, no, you're doing fine. You don't need to be getting self-doubtful here. You're doing fine.
Okay, thank you. Haimaji, please go ahead.
Sure. I was going to say we have to let go of the emotional attachment to material, like sensual pleasures. That's what I was going to say, Brother Shankara.
Yes, indeed, we have to let go of that.
That doesn't mean we shouldn't be living like we need a chair, we buy it, but that doesn't mean it's not mine. I am only trustee, like you said, the money, wealth. We are only trustees of our wealth, but we are not, we don't own anything. When we come with nothing, we go with nothing when we die. So we have to understand that reality, God is in control of our lives. We are not in control of everything. We are under the Maya all the time, thinking that, oh, I am in control of everything. I could do everything, We're ignorant. Many of us are ignorant. Not all of us. Many of us are ignorant.
No, we are all of us. Unless you are illumined, unless you are a realized soul,
Right.
to one degree or another, you're abiding in ignorance.
Thank you. Thank you, Brother Shankara. That was my comment.
Brother Shankara,
Yes.
I think by letting go, slowly we are able to discern what needs our attention more.
No question about it. And what is it that needs our attention?
The highest truth that we are not the limited beings that we have come to believe we are because of the illusion, and that we are the witness.
All very well said, exactly. So when he got to the end of his definitions of Maya, which went on for several talks, if you remember, what was his final conclusion about what Maya is? Maya is everything that we can experience. Maya is everything. The good, the beautiful, the bad, the ugly, the evil. And the difficulty is that we keep justifying our continued participation in it by these various stratagems. And he listed several: idealism, materialism, this, that. We continue to think, as was said by Rishikesh, we think that we are in control of the situation. We think that we are the doer. And that if we just get it right, there'll be a heaven on earth. That there'll be a heaven within Maya.
But the Swami contradicts that earlier.
Oh,
by
yeah.
saying this world would always be a mix of good and evil. It's never going to really change.
Well, it must be. That's what he describes so carefully and so thoroughly. There cannot be a manifestation of only good without there cannot be only light without darkness. Once duality has been entered into, which is Maya, it's all going to go forward. And Haima said, we come with nothing, we leave with nothing. Well, in a material sense, that's true. But in terms of our mental impressions, It's not quite true. We come with this vast store of mental impressions that, as the Swami pointed out in his talk on involution and evolution, we started out as the most primitive kind of being. You can visualize it as a single-celled creature. And we added and added and added and added to that until now we're capable of doing what we're doing right now. And so, given that we do take another lifetime after we leave this one, we'll take all that we've learned in this lifetime. We won't remember, most of us, this lifetime. We won't remember all of the elaborate things that we learned about experience and emotion, the organs of perception and the organs of action. This is an action and experience suit. This is Maya. This is Maya. We're good. We're bad. We're beautiful. We're ugly. We're yes. We're no. We're all the things that the Swami said Maya is. And all of the things that you all contributed, wonderful. That's just exactly it. We track along, entangled in this action and experience way of being. If you remember, the Swami detailed a number of philosophical positions that then he, without being uncharitable, demolished. They don't sustain. He talked about the idealists, he talked about the materialists, he talked about the German philosophers, he talked about this and that. What is this? As was said by Rishikesh, we try to control it by coming up with this mental and emotional and physical construct of a way to be. Now, is there anything wrong in that? The Swami never said it was wrong. He just said it was futile. That if we wish to release ourselves from the entanglement of Maya, so now we've perhaps talked enough, unless there's anything anyone else would like to say about the definition of the problem. Anything else that anyone would like to contribute about the definition of what it is, what the difficulty is?
Brother Shankara,
Yes, dear.
this example of Ravana's statement comes to my mind, that he says that I know that what I'm doing is wrong, but I just can't seem to stop it. I know what I should be doing to be right, but I just can't seem to do it. And to some extent, this control issue, we know we are not in control, we've experienced that many times, but still we keep on looking for ways to control. We know what will go with us is the subtle body and the impressions, yet sometimes it seems difficult, and that is Maya.
Yes. And you brought up a beautiful example of Ravana. What is Ravana an embodiment of? He is the embodiment of Rajas. Rajas is helpless. Rajas is like an alcoholic in the presence of alcohol. What do alcoholics say? I'm a drunk. I'm helpless in the face of alcohol. Are they bad people? No. Are
Was
they?
Girish Ghosh an alcoholic?
Oh my God, yes. I mean,
That's how he was able to turn his back on that. Despite
no, he was not able to turn his back on
I thought by the end of his life he was able to give it up.
it. How did he give it up? He turned over his power of attorney. He stopped trying to think can be in control. He gave this power of attorney to Sri Ramakrishna. And
Right.
Sri Ramakrishna slowly and slowly unwound him from that addiction and his addiction to all of the other forms of dissipation and excess that he was given to.
It's clinging on to life without giving it up, clinging on to stuff. That is also Maya, right, Brother Shankar?
Well, this is what the Swami said. And thank you, Haima. You're right. It isn't that we're going to just stop living. That's not the point.
Right.
The point is to see what is and not remain attached to it, not remain attached to our feeling that I am in control. I am the doer.
Thank you.
I am this whole business of I at the center of things. So what does this Swami say, having so carefully defined the dimensions of the difficulty and so carefully demolished our rationalizations about how the difficulty isn't really a difficulty after all, and that we will somehow make a heaven out of this Maya? What does he say is the solution? Not, and let's not use general terms. What does he say we need to do?
I think detachment and renunciation are the two things he mentioned continuously. Detachment, renunciation. Through meditation.
Very, very good, Haima.
He said through meditation it's possible. When you find yourself realizing, when you realize when you get the self-realization, that is when it leads you to detachment, karma yoga, and then you renunciate things, then you will liberate yourself. And that's what I understood.
Very good. Anything that's part of the answer and a good part. What is the rest?
I remember he also said something like the way out of the machinery is through it.
Yes. What do you mean by that, Brahmadas?
I suppose, yeah, I never quite got that. I remember he said it, but I think he meant working out your karmas through this world,
Mm.
doing karma yoga.
That may be a slight misunderstanding of what he said. But you're right that he did say, because we have only this equipment to work with. Isn't it so?
Yeah.
But what does this equipment contain that, as long as our attention is outward directed, we don't even know is there?
The
So,
Atman, the self.
Yes. Okay, what are the implications of that, Swami? What are the implications of the fact that the Atman is within us?
So we are really free. Maya is deluding us into thinking that we are bound. It's sort of like, I think he might have said it somewhere else, but face the brute, face Maya and say, you're not going to bind me.
Well,
I
yes,
remember that too. He was talking about the monkeys of Benares chasing him. When he finally faced the brutes, they ran away.
does he, I mean, we talked about this a little bit, suggesting that we try to practice seeing God in everything.
yes. All right. What are the implications of that? And how do we do that? Very good.
Well, one way is to worship Maya as Sri Ramakrishna did, in the sense that if Maya is time, space, and causation, well, in some ways it's impossible to not experience those things so long as we're embodied, right?
Exactly.
So then the only way is to see even that is God and its mother's play.
And it isn't even that. That is the divine. This is what he says. Shakti and Brahman, or Shiva, are identical. Atman and its expression are identical. Its expression as Maya. The difficulty is we remain hypnotized by our action and experience suit and being active and experiencing and keep trying. We keep trying and keep trying and keep trying to find a way to make it all right, to make ourselves happy, to make a heaven out of this Tantalus's hell, as he said. Now, the minute we stop trying to make a heaven out of this Tantalus's hell and discover that it is an expression of the divine, but it arises and passes away, arises and passes away. So what does he say? What does the Swami say in the Talk Realization, which is the most recent one we've studied? What does he say for us to do? We're doing fine, by the way. This is if this was easy, they'd sell it on the street.
One thing he says is we must go into the reality with a capital R. Renunciation will take us to it.
Renunciation of what, Brahmadas? You're absolutely right. Renunciation of what? It's been said in a number of ways. Say it in your own way. Renunciation of what?
I would say hand over your actions, the fruits of those actions, your good thoughts, your evil thoughts, you hand it all over to the Lord in your own way.
That is the karma yoga strategy. You're absolutely right. The Swami also describes the Gyana yoga strategy. Somebody want to give a go at what the Gyana yoga strategy is, what it is that the Gyana yogi does that he's describing when he talks about realization in the last. You're absolutely right, Brahmadas.
Well, oh,
Go ahead, Divya.
oh no, I was just going to go back to the realization chapter, which begins with the Katha Upanishad and the story of Nachiketas. And I mean, it seems that that way, what Nachiketa discovers from Yama is that, or what he ultimately reveals to Yama about his own consciousness is that the things of the world have to be renounced. This attachment to the me and mine. And
Absolutely.
yes, oh, sorry. Yeah.
No,
So
right ahead. I was just agreeing with you.
yeah, and just the sense that we cling on to this life and this body, but when we let go, we realize ourselves as immortal. This wise one never dies.
Mm-hmm. And so
I think in Nachiketa's case, his renunciation was he gave up all the goodies he was offered for knowledge.
he was offered everything that Maya had to offer, everything that time, space, and causation had to offer.
Maybe it's a renunciation of the ego.
Say it again.
It's a renunciation of your ego.
Yes, but what does it mean when we say
I think it means put others before self.
That is an effect. And you're right. That is exactly what's likely to happen. It's not inevitable, but it is likely that you will substitute thou, thee, thine for I, me, mine. But what does it mean to not have an unripe ego?
To realize that everything that we experience with the body, mind, intellect is the small I. It's just the reflection of the consciousness, and has no connection to the real, the one I, the vertical one I.
Very good. So what was just said and what you just said, add that together. And what does the Swami say? What is the Gyana yoga strategy for getting to where we can do that?
Jnana Yoga says replace our present lower truth with higher truth through Jnana Yoga. That's what we were told in the Jnana Yoga. And be in the world but not of the world is the true test of renunciation. And you had said that too in one of our congregations.
It is in the title of chapter 8. We must do what is necessary to realize that higher truth that Haima just spoke of. Realization. And it is a process, just like Brahmadas mentioned earlier. The Karma Yoga has its process. Realization is a matter of teasing apart our entanglement, hypnotism, attachment to the things, the outward directedness of the action and experience. We are addicted to having experience. We're addicted to action. When we realize that that is what is the nature of our apparent bondage, according to the Swami, there comes a moment when you understand, and it goes beyond intellectual understanding. You viscerally, you witness the fact that you are free. And this is where we come to what Swayam said earlier. You understand that you are the Atman that is manifesting all of this for its own purposes. And you're done with it. Anything else from anyone about this business of realization? What does realization mean to you? When you think about the word realization, when you think about being realized, what does it mean to you?
Yes, Brother Shankara. Sometimes I think of following like your swadharma as like as well as you can every day, and living as honorably as you can every day.
Yes.
I see it as kind of like when Buddha attained enlightenment. Once you attain realization, that's it. You've realized the truth. Game over.
Yeah. Now, what Aaron just described are other aspects of the Karma Yoga formulation. Swami Vivekananda explains them very nicely in his talks on Karma Yoga. Attaining perfection through following your swadharma, which will inevitably lead you in a serviceful direction, and living honorably, which is to be constantly aware of your relationship to others and doing no harm. So anything else? What does realization mean to you when you think about realization in the light of what we discussed as we concluded chapter 8 last week? What does realization mean to you?
For me, it would be living in the truth and thereby, or of Atmanhood, if that's a word like that, and thereby overcoming suffering.
Overcoming suffering. Define what you mean by overcoming suffering.
This bouncing around between the highs and the lows, and um, again, seeking peace outside.
Yes. The highs and the lows will come. Suffering will happen. But when one is the witness of it, then it doesn't have the effect that it has on someone who's trying to make a heaven out of Maya. Because that suffering then is seen as an interference with their control.
But we don't need to necessarily overcome our suffering, do we? We just need to learn how to live with it, right?
Well, that's, I think, what Swayam actually meant by overcoming it, in the sense that Christ said, I have overcome the world. He meant he had become one. I mean, who could have endured greater suffering than he suffered? And he asked, if you remember, that cup be taken from his lip. But then what did he say? If it can't be done, then thy will be done. It is this business of realization, as the Swami talks about it in chapter 8, is surrendering all of our ideas about how it ought to be.
So it's like you're not necessarily clinging to anything. You're no longer really interested to change anything. Do you not really even see suffering as suffering? You just see everything as the way it is.
That's, yes, but that doesn't mean that you lack this serviceful attitude of alleviating suffering in others. Once your ignorance is less and is being dispelled, you see the effects so clearly of ignorance in others. And it isn't that you go and poke yourself in their face and say, I see you're ignorant. I know how you can stop. No. As Swami Prabhavananda said, people have a right to their pain and suffering, sustain and comfort. We learn through pain and suffering.
Isn't that ultimately more important than realization anyway? I mean, if a person is truly realized, you will never hear them say, I'm a realized being.
Oh, no, never.
Or I'm in samadhi 3 or 4 times a day.
No, you won't hear them say that.
I heard somebody say that. Anyway,
So when someone makes that claim, you should run for the exit, right?
Well, a lot of people love this guy. I'm not going to say who it is. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. But if you're truly realized, only people who have some inkling, which isn't going to, about what that might be, might suspect that you're realized. I mean, you can look at someone who probably is a realized being and say, I think that's a realized being. But you can't even say that for sure, because how could you know?
I think we, go ahead.
You go ahead.
Use our intuition though, because in the presence of certain swamis, I felt like this guy seems to be pretty high up there. I feel it.
Well-
Yes, exactly. But it's just, it's a feeling, it's an intuition, both of which are, you know, little wispy things that come and go. It's, I mean, I just feel like, you know, I love the thing, you know, we were talking earlier, or y'all were talking earlier, I was listening about realization as freedom from attachment. And Brother Shankara said, attachment to what? And this is just another answer, which is a dime a dozen. But for me, it's the attachment to resistance.
Sweet.
Because, you know, like many human beings, when I was younger, a lot younger especially, I was pretty smart in a head sort of way. And I really thought I really believed I knew things. And so when I would encounter someone who saw things differently, I could just be not very pleasant about it. And, you know, it took me a long time to realize that I don't know anything. And it's like even the best, most brilliant scientists in the world right now, they know what it's like. What they say we know is what we can. It's our best guess based on the evidence. I mean, that's what science is.
Actually, that brings another point, Brother Shankara. As spiritual people, we're told to be humble and serve, yet the Swami tells us also to be self-confident and believe in ourselves. How do you reconcile the two?
Absolutely. Well, you cannot really serve. You cannot really serve until you are quite self-confident. How will you know what to do?
Right. That's true.
No, you must believe in yourself. You must be self-confident. But that doesn't mean you're aggressive. It doesn't mean you're assertive.
It's a fine line, isn't it? Walk.
Sustain and comfort does not mean confront and convert.
Right.
And that's what Sharda was talking about. When we were younger, a lot of us, I'm sure, had this attitude. I know what's what, and you better listen to me. You know, somebody once asked me, who put a quarter in your slot? I mean, that was the question they asked me. Who put a quarter in your slot? Yeah, who indeed? Me, that little one.
I think the self that we're to believe in is the self with the big S,
Yes.
the Atman. Because I think that when you're, and I think we all know when you're guided by that big self to share something with someone, it, from what I've seen so far, it's always beneficial to everybody who's involved. So I think the belief is the, and the confidence, and you have to dance with it, have a relationship with it. That's what I picked up from our last class. you've got to want to have a relationship with the Atman, the higher self. And
I love your use of the word dance with it, Katrina. Exactly.
I was listening to, I think it was something on YouTube, Swami, forgive me for not pronouncing his name, Sarapanara, I think it is. And you know, he was saying that, or something I was reading, and it says that we look at, if somebody gives you a gift, then most of us get caught up in the gift and we forget about the person who gave the gift.
Mm-hmm.
And so he compared that to the Atman, the self, the God, what I call it. It's like God gives us things, but we get caught up in the things and we forget about the God itself. And so again, I think when we talk about the Maya and the realization, it's to because from my understanding, everything comes of God. Maya, everything that we see is because, I think you said, it's why does it seem so real? Because it's I think you said the Atman's dream.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why it seems so real. But we get caught up in the results as opposed to really getting involved in and understanding. It was like, wow, look what it's doing, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the way I look at it. If I could just stay in that space and like, wow, look what it's doing. See what it's doing, but just understand how it's coming about. Then that's what I think the realization is.
Well, yes. As Swami Prabhavananda used to say from time to time, everyone loves the magic, but no one wants to know the magician.
I was going to say that. You beat me to it because it's a different, to paraphrase, it's just a different way of saying what Katrina said about getting caught up in. It's like he's Swami Prabhavananda is saying, you know, people get caught up in the magic show. The magic is how, you know, but they don't care about the magician, the source of the magic.
Exactly. Well, that's what
And that's where
it's what the Katrina said.
That's what the reality is.
yeah.
And that brings us back to Maya. The magic is the Maya.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's why it's both an illusion and a delusion. It's an illusion because
That's true of all good entertainment.
So next week, given that I'm feeling up to it, I have this implant of a pacemaker and defibrillator this Friday, if everything goes well, Mother willing. There will be an implant of a pacemaker and defibrillator. That should result in a good deal more energy and effectiveness, but whether I'll be sufficiently recovered or whether I'm told I should be doing things by next Wednesday, we'll see. But for those of you who wish to read ahead, Chapter 9 is Unity and Diversity. So the Swami is going to start to lead us through the implications of realization. And we will recognize a lot of what we talked about this evening in his discussion in Chapter 9. And by the by, thank you all for your participation. Don't feel that if you didn't say anything, you didn't participate. If you want to know what I mean, read Swami Vivekananda's talk powers of the mind. You are participating. Your energy is flowing back and forth with us. You know, those who are prompted to speak and contribute in that way, share in that way, they shared in that way. We all contribute just by being here and being attentive. So thank you all for, look at this screen full of wonderful beings and great souls. So hold a good thought for me on Friday at noon. I'm supposed to go in and they're going to cut a hole in my left shoulder and poke a machine in there and put some wires through a vein and hook it at the machine up to my heart. And the heart is supposed to work a good deal better. That would be real fine.
And you'll be the bionic monk.
That's right.
So anything else from anyone? And by the way, I just think this was splendid tonight. This was just exactly, this is how we do manana together, how we chew on this, swallow it and digest it together.
Yeah, I think it's productive forum and discussion.
Somebody else, Brahmadas, thank you. Somebody else was saying something?
Oh, Brother Shankara, it was me. I just wanted to say, I forgot to say what I thought realization felt like. And I guess to me, it's what Swamiji also said about separation, because the function of the body and the mind is to make us feel like we're different, the individuals. And while each of us are individuals trying to attain to the unity, you know, the clinging on to the desires is and the source of that suffering.
Yes.
That creates the sense that I am I and you are you. But
Yep.
then there is no I or you in the ultimate sense. We're just waves in the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very nicely said, Divya. Very nicely said. The Swami Vivekananda put it this way poetically. We are infinite dreamers, dreaming finite dreams. There are how many infinite dreams represented by the images on the screen here. But behind that is this infinite. And because each of us is an individual spark of that of that infinitude, then this is why he says, we are infinite dreamers, dreaming finite dreams. And when we get clear that that's what we're doing, we'll be free of the pain of separation. That's the real pain that ends. The pain and suffering associated with embodiment, that goes on. But the greatest pain, the most profound pain, that sense of separation, that goes away. Oh, dearly beloved, a flower at your feet for each one who comes to your open door. A flower at your feet for each one who stands by your open door and says, come to me, offering to break this world's chain that binds us down to ignorance, suffering, and death. a flower at your feet for each one who takes the path that you have struck through this, your jungle world. Om Amen. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all beings everywhere. Jai, Jai, Durga, Durga, Durga. May you be safe. May you be healthy. May you be cheerful. May you have peace of mind. And may you go forward in the divine being's loving and protective embrace. So until we meet again, which I'm not exactly certain when that will be, but you'll hear about it through bulletin or whatever.
Yeah, either check the e-news or it'll also be on the homepage, any
Okay.
update.
Anything else from anyone?
Good luck in your surgery. We're all praying for you.
Wish you the best, Brother Shankara. Good night, everybody.
Good luck, Brother Shankara. We'll be thinking of you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Hari Om, Brother Shankara.
Hari Om, Hari Om.
Hari Om,
Good
everybody.
night.
Good night.
Good night all.
Love you, dear.
Thank you, Beverly. Love you too.